Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Agentic CMO. I am Dave Lehman, President and COO here at Birdeye, and I have another exciting guest here to join us to talk about the world of marketing, talk about the world of agentic, agents, AI, AEO, GEO, all the great new acronyms that we're all playing with every single day. Tim Shea from Latticework Insights. Thank you for joining me today. Introduce yourself to the audience, if you would.
Awesome, Dave. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. My name is Tim. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Latticework Insights. We are a data science agency. We provide data leadership that helps retail and D2C brands become elite retail and D2C brands. We use technology and 25 years of domain expertise in retail to help people see their business more clearly and help them graduate to their next stage of growth. I really appreciate you having me on the show and eager to dig into it.
That's great. You mentioned a great word there, elite. Everybody works on their brand. There's some great brands out there. It sounds like you worked with some really good ones, the NBA, UFC, Sweet Greens, Princess Cruises, Reddit. Everyone's on Reddit these days. What separates, especially on that retail side, what separates a good brand from an elite one?
Oh man, so many things. I think that there's a real case, even in the era of agentic AI, of just like blocking and tackling as a superpower. I think there's a chatter in tech that data is the new oil. I really think that domain expertise is the new oil, and really having your own internal data nice and organized, being able to get all of the stakeholders in your company to agree that today is Wednesday, for example. Super common for us to do a bunch of work building a data infrastructure and building some reporting, and we walk into a meeting and we pull the dashboard up. And everyone's like, hold on one second. I thought we were talking about ROAS today. I thought we were talking about net revenue. I thought we were talking about the campaign where we gave a discount like 2 weeks ago. And it's really, really common for folks inside of super successful businesses where they can't agree on some of the basic things that they're trying to accomplish. You can only really have one true north or two true norths in a company of things that you're trying to accomplish. And you see it really often in big companies, small companies, where they got to get their sort of house in order before they can do elite things. So we come in and we build infrastructure. We build data pipelines, data warehouses, data models, reporting. But more and more people are asking us for leadership. They want us to bring our 25 plus years of domain expertise in retail to the forefront. They want to hear what we've been working on with NBA and Sweet Green and Reddit. They want to hear what the big guys have been doing to become elite, as you say. And it's really important for us to give them best practices, make sure that they can agree on what is important in the company, and get firing on all cylinders.
And is that the mindset that you've got to set there? Is it like that foundation of metrics and data and consistency there? The team, what does that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, look, LTV is sort of the center of gravity in most of the conversations that I have with my customers. And there's a big debate about what LTV even means. Are we talking about lifetime revenue, or the sum of all the purchases that an individual customer has made? Are we talking about that minus all the expenses to acquire them? Does it include COGS? Does it include seasonality? Does it include what we predict that LTV should be for that particular customer segment? So even LTV, which is a super important metric for everyone to rally around, is extremely nuanced. There's many definitions on how to calculate it. And it's super, super important for every company to coalesce around a definition of what that means. Because if they're thinking about their LTV CAC ratio, they need to be really cognizant of which CAC specifically, and which value that the customer is providing, and how long does it take for a customer to reach 1 or 2 or 3 purchases? How long does it take for that customer to hit profitability? And so, these are philosophical questions that I think every customer needs to reckon with. Every customer is a snowflake. Every brand is a snowflake. And if they don't do those basic things, then a lot of these analytics meetings devolve into just arguing over definitions or who's vying for which metrics and who isn't. So super difficult for folks to do. But yeah, that data maturity, that data culture is a missing piece that a lot of these up and coming brands are missing.
Yeah, Tim, I've heard you use sort of the Moneyball analogy for marketing, and everyone's got to be in the data and know it all. But I'm pretty sure the A's have not won a championship yet, and that hasn't gotten there. Not that everyone doesn't need to be better at their data, but it just can't be that. What does CMOs really need to take from this to leverage that data the right way?
Look, I think I love the Moneyball analogy for folks who are not, sports nerds, Dave, like you and I. Right. So the idea is that we find these wrinkles in the analytics that can produce sort of outsized advantages for brands. And the, example in, let's say, basketball is, shooting 30% from the 3-point line is actually better than shooting 40% from mid-range. And so, teams discover this and they move everyone to shoot, 3 and play 3 and D and be really good at free throws. And
the Steph Curry effect, yes.
The Steph Curry effect and the James Harden effect, the Boston Celtics effect. And but I think you are right to point out that Moneyball doesn't always win championships, and there's a huge backlash in sports, and there's a huge backlash in marketing. Even marketers will tell me, they say, Tim, what about my intuition? I get it, we need to be data driven, but what about my super smart, spidey senses as a founder of a brand? Like, I know my customers really well. I know messaging. I'm a marketer. I've been in marketing for 25, 30 years too. What about my intuition? And we say, yes, absolutely. Obviously, data and intuition need to work hand in hand. And we need to understand where one is good and one is bad. People say, well, I have a pretty good intuition about, how a particular campaign performed. And I say, yeah, you're right. You're totally right. But was the margin on that campaign 30% or was it 35%? Because if it was 33.5%, it turns out you go into debt on the first purchase and now you have to make it up on the second purchase, and your churn rate's 80%. So there's not a lot of users to pay down that debt. And so let's just be honest about where, data is good, and intuition is good. And so we're living in this era where I think growth marketing has become a bit of a computer science problem. But the problem with that is that, is a jagged frontier in terms of what, AI is good at. I think AI is good at things that computers are bad at, and computers are good at things that AI is bad at. And so it can be very tricky to figure out, where to be applying AI, where to be applying data science, and where to be applying good old fashioned marketing and communication strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked to a lot of great CMOs on this show about how AI is changing a lot of their world, both in terms of how they attract customers, where customers are finding them, what that customer journey looks like, how they can improve the efficiencies of their team using AI, and also then the AI analytics on how they can look at their business and understand what's going on, what's working, what's not, where they need to jump in and make changes to the business. Or, it's hard to market a business if you're not a good business. So, how do you improve that? But you've called yourself an AI skeptic, and yet you build AI systems for a living. Where's the right places and where AI should be used and can't be avoided right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is literally the $1 trillion question. It's trillion with a T, right? We've invested $1 trillion in these technologies. And there's a big question of internally, a lot of times folks are scratching their heads or saying am I missing? I get this question, Tim, am I missing something? I'm reading the Wall Street Journal, I'm reading TechCrunch, and everyone's saying human jobs are being replaced and AI can, make me a, ham and cheese sandwich and it can make my company wildly profitable. Companies are going from 0 to 10 million ARR in 12 months. But Tim, I can't get the damn thing to spell strawberry. And I tried to put a cash flow analysis into Claude the other day, and it was hallucinating like crazy. And I'm not going to put this stuff in front of my clients. Well, I'm not talking about, doing heart surgery. I'm not talking about, regulated industries like I'm working a financial advisor working at Charles Schwab. I'm talking about, hey, I'm an accounting business and I got to put a solid cash flow analysis in front of my clients. And on the off chance that LLM hallucinates, this is dead on arrival. And if I have to take my super smart people to then QA the work that LLMs have done, shouldn't I just do the work myself? I can kind of do this a little bit faster. I think a lot of people are asking this question around like, am I missing something? And I think the answer really is no. I think that we are living in the era where the hard work of good, smart, founders and practitioners and operators is figuring out where these tools are good. We like to look at LLMs as a sort of a prism. So if you think of, you've got above average, average, and below average folks working with the same LLM, those three types of users have three different types of outcomes, right? Above average users, they're going to become 10x engineers. They're going to be 10x operators using the LLMs. Average users are going to probably focus on productivity, getting things done maybe quicker, kind of banging through their to-do lists. And below average users are filling up enterprises with slop. 10x the amount of slop that was there prior. And there's a real question around, how do these companies navigate the next few years? How do they upskill their workforces so that people are not producing slop, so that there's checks and balances for the type of work that is being generated? How do they move everyone up, into those different tiers? How do we move more people into the above average tier to do great things with LLMs? At least in my work, AI is incredible at writing code. In many ways, when AI is solving problems, you can see it sort of building the airplane as it's flying. It's figuring out how to go on the internet and search for things. It's figuring out how to do arithmetic. It's telling you, it's walking you step by step through the problem. It's figuring out how to build an LTV CAC, visualization for a client. It's figuring out how to write SQL. I think marketers are thinking a lot about how to do creative in this post-Andromeda world on Meta. For folks that are not on Meta, the Andromeda is this new algorithm where they're just like, don't target, like stop thinking about targeting soccer moms. You got to figure out what content resonates with soccer moms and fill the algorithm with content, and the algorithm will figure out where to route it. And this is a totally counterintuitive way for folks to be doing marketing when they feel like they have a good understanding of who their target audience is. And now they're handing over those reins to the Meta algorithm. So it's a very weird, upside down world that we're all living in. And it's going to take us a while to navigate through it.
Tim, as you think about some of your clients that do this sort of the multi-location marketing and being found online and getting people in the store or to place those orders, book appointments. Like you said, things change like on Meta every day, Google every day, how Google is switching, it feels like everything to Gemini. Obviously, you get the new players like ChatGPT and Perplexity coming into it. Like, what are you advising your clients on that? Like, how do they keep up with that? What do they need to do differently? How do they embrace it? Are they seeing good conversion rates out of those sites? Are they seeing traffic from those sites? Like, what's your view?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think first and foremost, whether you like AI or you don't like AI, like this is not a time to stick your head in the sand. Like you have to be using these tools every day, figuring out how they're going to work for you. I've got clients who are like, yo, Tim, like we have like a traffic arbitrage business. We have a cost per acquisition business where people find us on search. And Tim, we can look at the charts. We can see our conversions going down every month because Gemini is eating up a lot of those answers. And we used to have good SEO, but now it's being eaten up by the LLMs. And we don't know how these black boxes are constructed. We don't know how to get data into the LLMs. And there's all these charlatans, Dave. I'm sure you got them emailing you too. There's all these charlatans every day emailing me being like, we'll get your brand on Reddit, which will get it into the LLM. We'll get your brand in this, which will get it into ChatGPT. And you're like, well, will it? Like, I guess I'm going to have to spend the money to find out if that's going to work. And so there's a whole new set of marketing playbooks that are now becoming irrelevant. And we need to figure out, well, what is the new stuff that's going to get us there? Brands come to me all the time and they say, look, Tim, we're selling on Shopify and it feels like Shopify is a solved problem. And I say, you know what, you're probably correct. And they say, listen, whoa, if we're selling on Shopify and Amazon and we have a brick and mortar store, and we've got a partnership with Sephora, how should I think about the value of an impression or the value of $1 in revenue? Is it the same across all these different platforms? And we're like, you're touching on like a super important philosophical question about how we're going to solve this. A company came to me the other day and they go, look, we just did this super successful launch at Sephora. We're selling our stuff like hotcakes. But all of a sudden, our conversions on Meta are going way down. Is that because of Andromeda, or is that because we're advertising on Meta and it's driving people in store? It's cannibalizing our online business. What do we do? And you're like, okay, right. So we have a new frontier that we need to solve. And so, there's lots of good statistical techniques when folks are ready to do it. About how
do you have anybody playing on like the ChatGPT, paying for ads on ChatGPT yet? Any of your clients going there?
I just got an email yesterday from ChatGPT, and they were like, "Do you want to run an ad on ChatGPT?" And I was like, "Yes. Here's my money. Here's $100. Show me how it works." And so, hopefully, I'm first in line. So I'll report back next time I'm on the show. It's interesting. I think I tell everyone, like, if you're subscribed to ChatGPT, log out, open an incognito browser, and go into ChatGPT and like write a couple queries, and you'll see the ads, and it's there. We're not talking about tomorrow; it's there today. And so ChatGPT is showing ads to people. We have no idea how much bias is in there. We don't necessarily know what places they're pulling data from. And so this is the wildest of Wild Wests that we are navigating through.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a client, and we were talking about, well, first of all, we were saying like, okay, your brand may be doing okay on these new platforms in this AEO geo world, but we did a big study, and 1 in 5 of their actual locations completely invisible. So they may think that they've got it nailed in, that, oh, you can find me on here, but like 20% of their individual locations have zero presence on these things. So we're helping them with some of those things. But he started doing some of his own tests and says, oh, well, I did a search for it was a storage company. I did a search for my thing, and I'm showing up all over the place. Anywhere I go, we're coming in first and all the rest of them. Like, did you go to an incognito browser? Like, did you try and do this where it doesn't know you and know that you ask about your brand and are doing things for your brand all the time? He's like, oh no, I didn't do that. And he did it. And it was completely different, a view of what a consumer would find if it was doing that. So anyways, to your point, Tim, crazy new world. Everybody needs a lot of help figuring this out, figuring out what's the right data, where to go build, what assets are missing, where does it overlap with SEO, what's new. A lot of new areas.
Look, I remember back in like I started this company in 2018. I remember in 2018, everyone was sort of bemoaning this phenomenon of like the playbook for marketing was like, find product market fit, raise a big Series A, and then dump 70% of your Series A on Meta advertising. That's growth marketing in 2018. And lo and behold, we're in this era again of like experimenting matters. Being a smart marketer who thinks outside the box matters. There's a story up in the Bay Area. I don't know if you saw any of the biplanes flying over the city with the little, some AI company was doing like a out of execution. Okay. And people were raving about, they're like, oh, I've never seen like an airplane fly over the city with like a banner behind it. And everyone was buzzing about it. You're like, this is an example of people experimenting with new forms of marketing. Is because paid is tapped out, old emails tapped out, search is getting tapped out. And so people are like, what if we just bought like a huge billboard that was flying through? We'll do skywriting when there's a new Dreamforce conference coming up. And this is the game that where people need to be able to freestyle.
Tim, you were talking about marketers using different levels of people. The good people 10xing, the bad ones being really expensive. Little different question to that, but like when is it the right time to use a foundational model directly in your business, and when is it time to bring in a partner that does nothing but this and has a lot of AI in their solution?
Yeah, I think like as much as possible, I think everybody should be using these tools all the time, like all day. Like it just anytime there's an idea of like when a problem could or could not be solved, you should be using the latest LLMs, the latest diffusion models, experimenting with video and image generation, and really getting a sense for where these tools work for you and where they do not. It's really easy. I'm a programmer. I've been writing code for 25 years. Building agentic software is super hard. It's framed as this thing where, hey, oh guys, there's a narrowing amount of human jobs left, and it's only going to get narrower. If anyone's tried putting an LLM in the middle or an agent in the middle of a software application, you're generating AI-generated code, and you've got an agent in the middle making decisions, and you're logging, and you've got evals, and you're deciding which memories to store long-term, and you're managing your token spend. You need a super senior software architect to do this right. And look, when I go and I talk to these AI filmmakers, people that are creating video and using AI tools, people have the sense that you go into ChatGPT and you write a movie about a man and a woman who fall in love, boom, and it just spits out, a 200-page script. Okay. The reality is those AI filmmakers, they got a huge stack that they're managing, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different platforms to get their job done. They're bringing their own domain expertise to the forefront to figure out how to do this stuff so that it doesn't look like junk. And so I think, when people are experimenting, they'll eventually kind of hit a wall, and then they will have a better understanding of what type of consultancy do we want to bring in? What type of agency should we bring in? If you respond to cold email, I haven't done it yet. If you respond to cold email to the guy that says, I'm going to get your brand on Reddit so that it gets inside of ChatGPT, you have no idea what you're going to get. If I had experimented with it myself first, then I can have an intelligent discussion with a bunch of those vendors and figure out exactly how it should work for me. So I think people got to become, mini AI experts inside of their own organization before they call for help.
Yeah, I love that, understanding the baseline, understand what's possible, and then, like you said, the quick prototyping as well, right? Like it feels like you can get 80% of what you need done really quickly, but if you want to have something at enterprise class, you trust the data, make sure there's no hallucination, like all of that, you gotta that next 10% is not so easy. So. Well, Tim, we're about out of time here. It's been a fantastic conversation. You say you're a programmer. I don't know. You're coming off as an agentic CMO to me. Somebody who knows how to be a practitioner and make this stuff work. Any last advice for marketers out there, or multi-location marketers out there trying to figure out this new world? Any place you have them start, or advice you have for them?
Look, I think someone said, hey, I want someone to teach me how to use AI. I'm like, you can just log into ChatGPT and ask it. And I think that we're kind of living in this era of, like, if you have an idea, like, go execute on it. Like, you can just do things. And so I think there's a real sense of, like, if you have a question, if you have something that's on your brain, like, go do it. Go build it. And build the 80. It's 80% done. The only problem is that last 20%, there's like another 80% inside that 20% you got to get over. But I think it is definitely the era of you can just do things. In fact, I think it's the era of, like, you have to just do things. You must, in order to survive, just be doing things. Me, myself, I like to be super collaborative. If people want to reach out to me, they can find me on LinkedIn. Again, my name is Tim Shea. The company is called Latticework Insights. The website's latticeworkinsights.com. If we can be helpful, we can act as a sounding board and help people navigate this very weird world that we're living in. I'm happy to do so. And yeah, Dave, really appreciate you having me on the show.
Fantastic. Great conversation. And you got your plug in, Tim. I'm going to put my plug in for Birdeye View, September 9th and 10th. Hopefully you sign up, Tim, but we'll hopefully everybody listening signs up as well. AI agents, every job, every location. And it's a free webinar, or event. Come join us and learn a lot more about how to actually take this AI world and put it into practice. But again, thank you for joining me, everyone, for another great edition of the Agentic CMO. And Tim, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, everyone.